So besides breaking hearts, he also needs you to have enough break effects on him to work in game. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to build Gallagher as a sustain. We're going to go through all of his kit, his teams, and everything you need to know. So yeah, let's begin. So first of all, I'm going to explain his kit very quick. It's pretty simple, so we're not going to take too long doing that. First of all, we have his auto attack. It's just going to be fire damage. That's it. And then if you have his enhanced auto attack, it's called the Nectar Blitz. It's just going to give you more damage and then reduce the enemy's attack for 2 turns, which means it's going to apply a debuff on them. So it has a normal version, then an enhanced version. For elemental skill, you're going to choose a target and then you're going to heal them. That's it. The healing is not going to scale with any stat. It's just like a set amount that's only going to scale with your trace level. So you're not going to need to build HP or anything like that. It's just going to scale with this flat amount and then heal and bonus. That's it. Now for your ultimate, it's just going to deal fire damage to all enemies. And then it's going to put the besotted debuff on them. And then it's going to enhance your basic attack. So the next time you basic attack, it's going to give you the enhanced version that we talked about before. And now finally for his talent and also what the debuff that your ultimate gives to enemies, it's just going to make them receive more break damage. And then every time you attack an enemy with this debuff on them, the character who attacks the enemy is going to get heals. That's pretty much it. Now moving on to his traces, the first trace is going to increase your outgoing healing by an amount of 50% of your break effects. So if you build break effects, your outgoing healing is going to increase up to a maximum of 75%. Very good trace. It's pretty much the only thing that's going to increase your healing. It's just the outgoing healing, so you definitely want to take full advantage out of that. We're going to talk about it more in a little bit. Ascension 4, you definitely want to unlock that too. It's just going to advance your action by 100% after your ult. So every time you ult, you're going to have an extra turn. And then finally, Ascension 6 is just that when you hit enemies debuffs from your ultimate, when you hit them with the enhanced basic attack, instead of only Gallagher being healed, because only the character that hits the enemy gets healed, no, all of your party members are going to get healed from the talent's effects. So that's pretty much going to be his only source of team-wide healing. Pretty much you can sum up his Trace 4 and Trace 6 passive on saying that his ultimate is going to turn into like a team-wide heal, because when you do the ultimate, it's going to inflict a debuff on the enemies, and then it's going to make sure Gallagher is going to be the one taking action next. And then finally, you're going to hit enemies with your enhanced attack and heal all of your party members. It's going to take too many steps, but eventually the result is that your ultimate is going to heal all of your team, which is definitely pretty good and needed for a sustained character. Now for his trace priorities, as I said before, his healing is mainly going to scale off of just flat stats. So it's not going to scale off with anything. So you definitely want to upgrade your healing talents. First of all, your talent is going to be the most important one, in my opinion at least, because it's going to be the team-wide source of healing. So you want to make sure you're getting enough of that as much as you can. Second of all, you want to upgrade your skill. And then lastly, you just want to upgrade your ultimate and auto attacks. These last two are not really that important, so don't invest in them too much. Now for Ascension traces, I'd say you definitely want to unlock all of them. He needs all of them to be like a full good sustain. So I'd say definitely make sure you unlock all of them to get the full potential out of him. Now, moving on to his Eidolons, we're just going to explain them very quick and see if they're worth getting or not. So first of all, E1 is just going to regenerate 20 energy when you first enter battle, and then it's going to increase your effect resistance by 20%. It's cool, but the energy regeneration is only for one time, so it's not really that good. For E1, it's not even that bad, really, but, you know, it's nothing really special. Now, for E2, when you use your skill to heal an ally, it's going to remove one debuff from them, so it's just cleansing, and it's going to increase their effect resistance for 2 turns. That's super good, and in my opinion even needed for a sustained character. If you're using him in a lot of teams as a sustain, he's probably going to be your only character who's able to cleanse, and for him to be able to do that, you need to unlock E2. So I'll say E2 is probably his best Eidolon. It's super good and even needed for him, in my opinion, to be like a viable sustain. Definitely can be used without it, but he's definitely going to be lacking. E3 just level your skill and basic attacks. It's just whatever. You probably don't want to go for that alone. E4 is also pretty good. It's just going to increase the uptime on your ultimate, so it's going to give you more uptime on the debuffs and also the healing, which is super good. I'd say it's a very good constellation too. Even for E4, I'd say it's worth it. E5 just also levels your talent and then ultimate, and then finally E6 is just going to increase your break effects by 20% and your weakness break efficiency by 20%. So it's just going to make him, so it's definitely just going to make him a better breaker, but in my opinion, it's definitely not needed for his main role, which is just a sustain. In some teams it might be, and it might unlock like some of his break teams and stuff like that. It's going to make him much better, but just for sustain Gallagher, I'd say it's definitely a skip. So yeah, for his Eidolons in general, I'd say his E2 is probably the only one where I would say it's definitely worth it. Might be even a little bit necessary in my opinion, so if you can get his E2, definitely go for it. Other than that, none of them are really like super necessary. Now let's move on to his light cone options. Before continuing that though, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's gonna help me a lot. We're trying to reach 7k subs, so yeah, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Alright, I'm waiting. Did you do it? Okay, thank you. But yeah, for his light cone options, he doesn't really have many. His best option is definitely gonna be Knight of the Fright, Ho-Ho's signature light cone. It's gonna increase your energy regeneration rate, which is super good. It's gonna give you more healing, like team-wide in general, and then it can also buff the rest of your team. So it's definitely a super good option. Mainly for the energy regeneration, in my opinion, to be honest, because that's gonna allow you to use a break rope, which is pretty good. Other than that, the healing and stuff like that is not that important. But yeah, the energy makes this light cone the best one to use on him, in my opinion. Next up, we have What is Real. It's also gonna be a pretty decent light cone on him. It's gonna increase your break effects by 24%, and then it's gonna heal you yourself after you use your basic attacks. At least it's gonna make sure you don't need the healing on Gallagher himself, so I guess that's good. But the main thing is it's just the break effects, which is pretty good. It's pretty much the same thing really with the Knight of Fright. It's gonna give you break effects, so if you really need it and you didn't reach your requirements, which I'm gonna tell you in a little bit, in that case you can go for an energy rope more comfortably. So yeah, it's also a very good light cone for him. The last option, in my opinion, is gonna be post-op conversation. It's also gonna increase your energy, but it's gonna be much less than the Knight of Fright. But if you have super impositions on it, it's gonna be much better. Also, it's gonna increase your outgoing healing, which is also pretty good. So yeah, it's definitely a super good option too. Now, to be honest, these are the only real viable options, so you definitely want to make sure you get one of these at some point at least. I mean, any other weapons are gonna work. It's just like normal abundance weapons. If you don't have any of these weapons, you can put in any weapon that's gonna work. For example, that's gonna give you like outgoing healing bonus or a small energy amount or something like that. But eventually, at some point, you definitely want to make sure you get at least one of these 3 weapons. They're gonna help you a lot, and in my opinion, one of them is gonna be very necessary for him to work. So yeah, definitely try to have one of these 3 weapons. If you see them on a banner or something like that, just cop them. And now moving on to your relic sets. The best relic set in my opinion for him is going to be Thief of the Shooting Meteor. It's just going to give you a lot of break effects from the 2-piece and the 4-piece. And then as a bonus, going to help you regenerate some energy if you break enemies, which is very good. The break effects, as I said, is going to be the main thing, so you definitely want to go for it. If you have a good 4-piece of it, you definitely want to use that. If you don't, you can just mix 2 pieces at this point. It doesn't really matter. You can have like 2-piece Thief of Shooting Meteor and then 2-piece Watchmakers too. It's going to be pretty much the same thing really, because you're going to have the same amount of break effects minus the energy, so it's going to be pretty good. And then finally, if you don't have them, you can use a 2-piece break effects, either the Watchmakers or the Shooting Meteor, and then the 2-piece Messengers, for example, for the speed, a 2-piece Wandering, for example, for the outgoing healing or anything like that. So you just want to mix 2 pieces. Now, moving on to your planner sets, generally the best one you want to go for is obviously going to be the Talia. Again, just for the break effects, it's going to give you a total of 36% break effects, which is super good. Obviously, you just want to make sure you have enough speed for that to work fully. I honestly think you should just get a Talia 2-piece because it's going to be much better for him than any other piece. So in my opinion, that's going to be the only viable option. If you cannot though, you can go like 2-piece Broken Keel. It's just like for the effect resistance, and then it might help your team get enough like crit damage, which is pretty good as a support set. Or like a 2-piece Penacony. It's just pretty much just for the energy, and then if you happen to have allies with the same type, it can increase their damage, but that's not guaranteed. So yeah, none of them are really like optimal sets. I'd say you definitely want to go for the 2-piece Talia. It's going to be much better than any other set. Now, moving on to your stats on your relics, you just want to go outgoing healing on your body. That's pretty much the only thing that's going to buff up your healing. As I said before, is outgoing healing. So you'd want to make sure you take advantage out of that on your body. And it's pretty much the only thing you can use, to be honest. So yeah, you definitely want to go outgoing heal on your body. On your boots, generally you'd want to go for speed. You generally want them to be fast, so speed on your boots is going to be kind of necessary, so you'd want to go for it. Now for your sphere, generally you'd want to go like either HP, fire damage, or even like attack. There's nothing really specific there to go for. HP maybe to like improve your survivability, or even like defense or something like that. Fire or attack just to increase your damage, and then that's it. To be honest, just make sure you go for anyone that has like better substats and also the right set. Make sure you have like a 2-piece Talia, and that's gonna be much better. Between these stats, just pick whatever has the better substats. And then finally for rope, you either want to go break effects or energy. I'm gonna tell you how much break effects you need a little bit as a minimum. If you have that, in that case you'd want to go energy. If not, then you'd want to go break effects. I prefer energy much more because you can get break effects from so many other sources as we've seen before, but energy, it's kind of limited if you're not using like an energy whip. So yeah, rope, generally I'd say energy, and if you have enough energy or you need break effects like so bad, in that case just go break effects. For your substats, you'd want to focus on break effects, and then speed. Effects resistance is also going to be pretty good, and then HP and defense for your survivability are not going to be bad. Now for the final stats you want to have on your Gallagher, the first thing you'd want to get for sure is going to be the 150% break effects. Your Ascension 2 trace is going to max out at 150%. At that point, it's going to give you 75% healing bonus, which is going to increase your healing, which is pretty good. He definitely lacks as a sustain a little bit compared to like other 5 stars and stuff like that. So when he heals, you definitely want to make sure he heals enough. And healing bonus is going to be the only thing that's going to be like buffing his healing. His healing is just like flat. It doesn't scale with anything. So you'd want to make sure you max out this trace. To do that, you need the 150 break effect, so you definitely want to make sure you have at least 150. The last thing you need, as I said before, you'd want him to be fast, you know, just as a general sustain thing. So generally, you'd want either like 141 or 160 speed. I prefer 141 because it's more like reachable. And if you're using the 2-piece Talia, which I recommend a lot, in that case, obviously, you'd want to go for 145 to get the full effect. That's pretty much all you need for his stats. And now let's end it with his team comps. So his main thing is that he's going to be a healer who can apply debuffs. That's going to be like his value in the character's world. Other than that, many characters can easily like excel him in terms of like sustain or debuffs alone or anything like that. His thing is that he can do them both. That's it. So you can just put him at any team who needs debuffs and then also needs a sustain. That's like the criteria of his teams. Team examples, for example, obviously an Acheron team. She needs a lot of debuffs to gain her ultimate, and she also definitely needs a sustain. So if you're using her with like 2 abilities which he needs, and you're not having like enough debuffs, in that case you can use Gallagher, for example, to have enough debuffs and help you to gain your ultimate faster and stuff like that, which is going to be pretty good. So you can use like Acheron, Silverwolf, or Ganaifen, then Pela, then Gallagher. Just a good free-to-play friendly team. Another team that needs debuffs is obviously Dr. Ratio. So you can use like Dr. Ratio, Topaz, and then like Gallagher. And then for the last slot, you can use a Harmony like Rod May or Ting Yun or whatever. Again, Gallagher is going to be your sustain, and at the same time is going to help Ratio have enough debuffs. But yeah, that was the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video. Peace.